The hotel room smelled like industrial soap and faint lavender. I had just set down the garment bag and the small velvet box when I took out my phone to call Jasper. My hands were still stiff from the drive 8 hours on the highway with nothing but rest stops and static-filled radio. In the passenger seat, the box had sat like something sacred, my late husband's cufflinks and a folded check for $15,000. It was supposed to be a gesture of love, of trust, of legacy. "Hey, Mom," Jasper answered. He sounded distracted. Muffled voices in the background. Music, maybe. "Clinking glasses, I just got to the hotel," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "What time should I come by tomorrow? I brought the gift." There was a pause, then laughter. Short, almost incredulous. "Oh, we had it yesterday. I thought I'd misheard." "You had what?" "The wedding," he said casually, like announcing a dentist appointment. "Just a small thing. Only family." My stomach dropped. I thought I swallowed. "I sent the deposit, the caterer, your suit, the venue. Yeah, we used it. It was great. But we wanted something low-key in the end. You know how things get." He was already pulling away, ending the call with a distracted "talk later, okay?" And then I was alone, phone in hand, standing in the middle of a room I'd booked months ago for the weekend. A trip I'd planned for weeks. The box still sat on the dresser untouched. The cufflinks caught the light like they were mocking me. I didn't cry. Not yet. I sat down on the edge of the bed, my coat still on the door, still ajar behind me. He said, "Only family," and I paid for it. I reached for my bag and slowly closed the hotel room door. If they could have a wedding without me, then I could leave without warning. I wasn't staying for leftovers. I didn't turn on the lights when I returned to the room. The hallway was still echoing with voices, other guests, other families, laughter from some nearby reunion. But inside room 216, it was just me and the hush of carpeted floors and beige walls. I set the velvet box on the desk, its lid still sealed. I hadn't opened it once since leaving Tucson. I thought maybe I'd watch his eyes light up Jasper's when I handed him the heirloom his father once wore. I thought maybe he'd hug me like when he was 10 and scared of thunderstorms. Instead, I opened my phone. The screen glowed too brightly in the dark. The first thing I saw was Jasper's profile. His latest post was from 12 hours ago. "Best day of our lives. Thank you to everyone who made it perfect." There they were, standing beneath a flower arch I recognized from the invoice I'd paid, smiling like a magazine cover. He looked happy. She looked radiant. I studied their faces, waiting to feel something. Instead, I felt hollow. Swipe. Her dress, the one I wired money for in May. Swipe. Their first dance. My name wasn't in the caption. Swipe. The cake, the candles, the rooftop venue in Denver. I'd researched myself while eating toast at midnight. Then I saw her. Front and center, arms around both of them, teary-eyed and glowing his wife's mother. The caption read, "Special. Thanks to the woman who made this day possible. You're everything to us." I stared at those words until they blurred. I wasn't tagged. I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't there. I scrolled through dozens of photos, the speeches, the toasts, the dancing, even the thank you table cards. My chair had never existed. I looked over at the gift box still unopened, the check still inside. Then I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Denver sparkled with life and celebration. But inside room 216 was quiet, still. I left the box on the desk and turned off my phone. If I was invisible to them, I would disappear completely. Sleep never came. I lay in bed listening to the hum of the hotel's heating unit, my thoughts louder than anything outside. At some point, I sat up and reached for my laptop. Not because I needed answers, I already had them, but because I needed to feel the weight of it all. I opened the budgeting folder I'd created last year. Jasper and Claire wedding. Planning docs. Each file was carefully labeled, each PDF attached with time-stamped emails. I'd always been the organized one. Jasper used to laugh at my spreadsheets, said I made life feel safe. The deposits came first. $4,500 to the venue. I remembered how excited Claire sounded when she chose the rooftop overlooking downtown Denver. "It's perfect," she said on speakerphone. "Thank you, Merelda." Next came the floral invoices. I'd paid in full $200 for custom arrangements because Claire didn't want anything that looked generic. Then the luxury dress shop, $7,800. She sent me a photo from the fitting room posing like royalty. I told her she looked stunning. She replied with a heart emoji and nothing else. There were more charges: catering, a string quartet, a digital photographer with a rush edit fee. All paid from my account. The totals added up quickly. By the time I closed the calculator, the number sat heavy at the bottom of the screen: 30 Water Wonders 2022s. No reimbursements, no thank you note, no acknowledgement, just absence. Then I saw it, an old email buried in my inbox, dated 6 months back. Subject line: "It's happening." Jasper's message read, "You'll love this day, Mom. It's yours too. Couldn't have done it without you." I read it twice. Then again. The words felt kind, familiar, like him. Before all of this. But now that promise felt like a ghost. A sentence carved in fog. I stared at the screen. The numbers, the emails, the receipts that told a different story than the one they posted online. I closed the laptop and let the silence fill the space where a wedding should have lived. A celebration I'd paid for. A memory I never got to have. And still, it cost me everything. The drive back to Colorado Springs felt longer than the trip up. I didn't bother turning on the radio. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my hands were stiff from gripping the wheel, but my mind was strangely clear. I unloaded the car slowly, leaving the garment bag in the trunk. The velvet box went into my purse, heavier than before. The next morning, I walked to the cafe I'd been going to for 15 years. Same corner table by the window, same mug they always handed me. The barista smiled and asked about the trip, but I just said it was fine. No one needed to know what had happened. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I opened my laptop and logged into the joint wedding account. The page loaded with the same pale blue interface, the same list of transactions that had drained my savings. My cursor hovered over the balance, barely a few $100s left. It struck me how neat it all looked, as if betrayal could be filed and tabbed like receipts. I clicked transfer. My private savings account appeared on the screen, a number that still felt like mine, untouched. I moved everything over with one drag of the mouse. The confirmation box popped up. Transfer complete. The new balance on the wedding account read $3.07. $3.07. Just enough to make sure the next automatic charge failed. Just enough to stop everything without a single word. I closed the laptop and wrapped my hands around the warm mug. Outside, snow flurries danced across the street, catching the morning light. I sipped my coffee slowly, letting the bitterness sit on my tongue. For the first time in months, I felt the tiniest flicker of control return. I stayed until my cup was empty, then tucked the velvet box deeper into my purse and stood. The cafe door opened to a gust of cold air as I stepped out, already knowing what I had to do next. The call came just after 9. I recognized the number before I picked up, and for a moment, I considered letting it ring. Mom Jasper's voice cracked through the line. "Hey, we've got kind of a situation here. The power's out. Wi-Fi, too. I think the water's about to go. They said something about missed payments." I didn't say anything. "And my card." He continued, a little more rushed now. "My card got declined at the gas station. I figured maybe there was a delay with the wedding check. You were going to send it this week, right?" I looked out the window at the streetlight flickering over fresh snow. The quiet hum of the heater filled the room, steady and warm. No, I said. Calm. Certain. There was a pause. Wait, what? I didn't send anything, I said. You told me I wasn't family. Mom, come on. That's not what I meant. I think it is. He stammered, his voice scrambling for higher ground. Look, things just got rushed. It was the venue's timing and Claire's mom. She wanted something small, private, and I paid for it, I said softly, every inch of it. More silence. I could hear him breathing on the other end. Shallow. Caught. We're kind of drowning here, he said eventually. Can you just please help us out this one time? I closed my eyes, remembering the email he sent months ago. You'll love this day, Mom. It's yours too. But it wasn't mine. It never was. I already helped, I said. More than you know. Mom. Take care, Jasper. I ended the call before his sentence finished. I stared at my phone for a moment, then turned it face down on the table. The silence felt heavier now, but not empty. Just earned. Outside, the wind picked up, brushing snow against the glass. I stood and reached for the velvet box I hadn't opened since the trip, ready to finally decide where it would go next. The notification lit up my phone while I was rinsing my coffee cup. A group message, Claire's name bold at the top. We're devastated. Some people forget family when it matters most. She had tagged me. Publicly. My name sitting there, blue and undeniable for everyone to see. I scrolled down. Comments were already piling up. Distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years chimed in with sighing emojis and moral lectures. How could you do this to them? Family comes first. She must be bitter. Each line was another small cut, none of them knowing what had really happened, none of them caring to ask. I didn't reply. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, then dropped back to my lap. Words wouldn't change their story now. Claire had written it for them. Instead, I opened my screenshots folder and began adding to it. Every message, every post, every accusation stacked neatly into digital evidence. Not because I planned to use it, at least not yet, but because a record mattered. In my old job, keeping records had always saved me. I scrolled back to her original post and studied the photo she'd chosen to accompany it, the two of them, looking exhausted in their dim kitchen, as if I had flipped the breaker myself. The caption beneath it read, "We thought love was unconditional." A few more names popped up in the thread, friends of friends now defending Claire. None of them had been there when Jasper was a boy, and I worked double shifts. None of them had seen me selling furniture to make tuition. The phone buzzed again. Another notification. Another opinion. I silenced it, slipped it face down on the counter, and poured myself a second cup of coffee. If they thought their noise could drown me out, they didn't understand what silence could do. I walked to the living room window, looking out at the street below, and for the first time in days, I let myself plan the next step. The knock came late after dark, after dinner, after I'd settled into a quiet evening of pages and peace. I opened the door and there he was. Jasper. Alone. No car in sight. No Claire. Just my son with a face that had aged since I last saw it. He didn't speak right away. His eyes flicked past me as if unsure whether he was welcome. I didn't move aside to invite him in. I waited. I know I should have called, he said. Finally, his voice low. I just didn't know if you'd even pick up. I stepped back just enough for him to enter. Not out of warmth, out of recognition. He sat on the edge of the couch, not leaning back, hands clasped between his knees like a child waiting for news. Claire told me you'd never come anyway, he started. She said it'd be easier without tension, that it was best to keep it simple. I let the words hang. He looked up. I knew it was wrong, but I didn't fight her. I let it happen. I didn't even tell you the date changed. I just let it go. He swallowed. And you paid for it. All of it. And I just let you. I sat across from him. Not too close? not unkind. He looked down at his shoes. "I'm sorry, Mom." The room was still. No music, no ticking clock, just the quiet between us. I stood, walked to the kitchen, and poured 2 cups of coffee. I placed one in front of him without a word. He took it with both hands like it might anchor him. I didn't say "I forgive you," because I wasn't sure I did, but I was willing to let him sit in the silence and carry its weight. He didn't ask for money, not that night. He just sat, and I let him. Outside, the wind picked up, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel like I was the one left out in it. The morning after Jasper left, I made tea instead of coffee. Something softer, quieter. My hands moved without rush, without ache. The house felt still but not empty. After cleaning up, I went to the back room and unlocked the small safe I hadn't touched since returning from Denver. Inside sat the velvet box, still unopened, the one that had traveled 8 hours in the passenger seat beside me. I lifted the lid and saw the cufflinks polished and glinting with the same quiet strength I remembered from my husband's final Christmas dinner. Beside them, folded neatly in a protective sleeve, was the paper I'd signed months ago. I slid it out and reread it carefully. Notarized. Clear. Legally sound. Jasper was no longer named as a beneficiary of the house or the land. No trust. No property passed down in his name. Instead, a fund already opened and seeded would grow slowly over time. The Franklin Memorial Scholarship, named for my husband, would award annual grants to girls pursuing accounting or financial studies. Quiet girls. Hard-working ones. Like I had been, like I still was. I smiled, not because it was revenge, but because it was right. No announcement would be made, no ceremony, no press release or family group message. The girls would never know my name, only the name of a man who'd believed in fairness, who'd worked with clean books and clean hands. Jasper didn't need to know. That was the beauty of it. I folded the documents back into the safe and closed it with a soft click. The velvet box I placed in my drawer, not to give away, not yet. Just to rest. Some gifts are never unwrapped. Some are never received. But some, like this one, are given anyway to those who'd never ask and never forget. Later that afternoon, I watered my herbs, folded the laundry, and read 3 chapters of a book I hadn't touched in years. When the sun set, I turned off the porch light early. No one was coming. And for once, I was perfectly fine with that. The news came in pieces, an overheard remark at the market, a message from my neighbor's niece, then finally, a quiet phone call from my old friend, Carol. "Did you hear?" she asked, her voice already tinged with the answer. "Jasper and Claire are moving out of that high-rise place downtown. Word is her mother pulled out. Financially, I mean." I stirred honey into my coffee, slow and even. Carol hesitated, then added, "People are saying they're barely scraping by. No help from either side now." I didn't respond right away. The spoon clicked gently against the side of the cup. "Aren't you going to help them?" she asked, softer this time, as if I hadn't heard. I took a sip. The warmth settled in my chest, the quiet kind that comes from peace, not obligation. "They'll manage," I said, because I had. Because when Jasper was born, I worked nights at the hospital and stitched hems for extra cash. Because when Claire joined our family, I put on a smile and opened my wallet, not out of duty, but hope. And when they planned a wedding without me, when they toasted without me, when they tagged everyone but me, I stayed quiet. I let them build the stage light, the candles make their speeches. Now the lights were dimming. Carol said something else, something meant to be kind, but I'd stopped listening. I'd heard all I needed. That evening, I pulled a chicken from the oven, roasted with lemon and thyme, and set 2 plates, one for me, one for no one in particular. The air in the house was calm, unbothered. Outside, the wind rustled the dry leaves, and I thought how strange it was, how loudly people mourned for those who broke trust, and how rarely they stood for the ones who kept it. I cleared the dishes, turned down the lights, and went to bed early. Tomorrow, I'd visit the bookstore. I had a new list of titles to explore, and none of them had anything to do with saving anyone but myself. The house smells like cinnamon again. I don't bake often, but Sunday mornings feel right for muffins. It's become a rhythm I keep for myself. Slow, soft, and mine. I start a new book every week now. No more half-finished pages waiting on a child's crisis, or a call asking for help. The spine cracks open when I'm ready, and the story unfolds on my terms. Jazz plays low from the radio in the corner. Not loud, not for anyone else, just enough to stir the silence. The kind of silence that used to ache, but now hums with something better, peace. The wedding photos never arrived. No apology note, no explanation, but I stopped checking the mailbox for them a long time ago. I water the succulents in the window and pour myself a fresh cup of coffee. The house is warm, not just in temperature, but in the way it holds me. These walls no longer echo with expectations, they hold my breath, my mornings, my life. There's a card on the kitchen counter. A crayon drawing on the front, pink sparkles and stick figures. Inside, block letters read, "To Grandma, thank you for the sparkly books." No signature, but I know who it's from. The same small voice that giggled in the back seat years ago, the only one who ever asked to see the stars with me instead of just borrowing the light. I pin the card on the fridge. There's no call from Jasper, no knock from Claire, and I don't need one. I finish my muffin and open my new book fiction. This time, something with time travel, and a heroine who doesn't wait to be rescued. Outside, the world spins as it always does, loud and impatient. But in here, in this home, I rebuilt from the silence. Every choice is mine. The phone rings in the distance. I let it go. The coffee's still warm and chapter 1 is just getting good.